Hey everyone, it's week 4 of Road to CPU Nationals 2017. It's January 29th and we're about 6 weeks out from the meet. And this week we're going to be talking a little bit about technique. And regarding technique, we're going to talk about why it's important, what you can do to get better at it, and things that I do that has helped me along the way. So, the first thing I want to talk about is just breaking it down in terms of what powerlifting really is, and it's a sport, and there are skills behind the sport, and that simple skill is squatting, benching, and deadlifting. Um, as simple as it sounds, it can get complicated with lifting as efficiently as possible so that you can lift the most amount of weight possible. So there's a lot of different ways that um, people can try to develop their technique to help get them stronger. So for me, one of the biggest things is obviously recording every single set that I do and analyzing and looking for different ways to improve. To me, that's something I think every powerlifter should do to some degree because it's really hard to analyze or think about like body positioning, breathing, um, little setup cues that you do during the set. It's a lot easier to do it after the set retroactively so that you can see key things that you may have missed or key things that you think were really good that you could apply again. So that's something that I do, and I really enjoy doing that. And I feel that building a catalog of lifting, like what I'm doing here on YouTube, has helped me gauge my technique in terms of, how has it progressed over time, and how, like, again, like how my strength has changed over time too. So it's really good, I think, to use that as a tool, especially if you're hurt, so that you can really pinpoint little things that are affecting you. So for example, myself in my squat, the bar is shifting, um, something to do with my hips and my back, and slowly over time I think it's coming back to normal. And just being able to track your progress in terms of improvements in that area, I think is really handy to have. So now to talk about what other things I do to help build my technique. And I think it's a common misconception that powerlifting is all about strength. Obviously, you need to be strong. That's a given. But also, I think it's really important to be proficient with your lifting to the best of your capabilities, and with the body that you're given. So for me, the way I structure my training, it involves a lot of lighter, lower RPE style workouts that aren't as taxing as a heavy workout, and gives me the opportunity to really analyze and feel the weights that I'm doing. For example, I might be able to hit, triples on bench press at 85%, but all I'm doing is thinking about getting through that set. I'm not thinking about, I'm not trying to think about every single cue that I have. But on some days, I have lighter workouts that allow me to feel the weight a lot more. For example, I have like 2 count pause bench days at like 65 to 70%. And for me, the weight is light enough that I don't have to ever worry about missing, but it's heavy enough that it provides a stimulus. But at the same time, I can really hone in on how I want to lift and make it as perfect as possible so that when those heavy days come, there you go, I'm ready to go, and I've developed the habits to become more proficient in lifting. And that's another thing when it comes to technique. Technique is, I find, a product of your habits and how you approach the bar in any way you want. So I think that again is very important in terms of being consistent on how you go about your cues and how you approach the bar. You know, building a routine in that sense, I find limits the variables in how you lift. And that's something that I need to do. Something I found is that, like on heavier deadlifts and a meet, I might get too emotionally jacked up and lose the technique that I've been doing the entire prep. So that's something I need to work on. I need to be more consistent, not be scared of the weights, whatever happens, and just stick to whatever I learned. Um, and again, that's important because, again, powerlifting is a specific sport where a skill has to be developed, and a skill needs to be mastered. And it's not always about just hammering weights away, lifting ugly move like hitting high percent weights really really ugly just so that you can do it. There is an element of technical mastery where you have to just, I guess, learn learn about your body, learn about how your body feels in, I guess, on earth really. Like, you have to learn how to feel your body in terms of where it is in different spots, like where your feet are in the bench, how wide your feet are on a squat, how you breathe on a squat, or like where you put your hands on the deadlift. Like simple things like that is a product of habit, and the only way you can do that is if you take the time to build that. And I don't think you can do that by just hammering weights all the time. There needs to be a dedicated period of time, either in your training split or in the off season, where you're able to really hone and refine your technique. Because I think there's a time and a place for everything when it comes to training, when it comes to heavier lifting, when it comes to lighter technique work. And that's kind of how I structure my training so that I can kind of get the best of both worlds. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. This week's video wraps up, I guess, this week's training for me. I think it went pretty well. Another hard week of training, still building up volume. A couple more weeks till we start peaking. So I'm excited for that. So for now, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.